Episode 63, New Year, New You. If you're anything like me, this time of year is so incredibly magical and wonderful. And yes, I know Christmas is just ending, which is one of my most favorite times of year. But to be quite honest with you, this last week before the new year is one of my most favorites. And that's because I get to pull out the planner that I have so carefully chosen, and I get to pull out my Papermate Flare pens. If you know, you know. And I get to dream up the year I want to have. I get to plan, but really I get to have hope for the future and who I am going to become and the goals I'm going to achieve and life's scenarios and situations that are going to come my way. It just feels so magical. And that is where I wanted to be able to bring some suggestions to you as you're preparing. And maybe you're not as elaborate as I am. Totally fine. I'm not suggesting you are. And shoot, maybe you are much more elaborate than I am this time of year. And with that, I honor you and admire you for that. But I wanted to bring to light this idea of New Year, New You. And while this is not my thought process on it, I wish I could give credit to the female I heard it from, but for the life of me, I cannot remember who said it. So if you know, let me know. But a couple years ago, this female mentioned that she really disliked the idea of New Year, New You. And the reason why is because she said it really gives a slight to the woman you were last year and to the woman you were before. And really, we should be thanking those versions of us that helped us get to where we are now. Because while we can hem and haw and critique our lives as to where we are now, we also, in my opinion, should give credit to those women in the year before and the year before and the year before, because she was doing the best she could and she was working with what she knew and what she had. And as you're getting ready to plan your goals or choose your word for the year, or you set your intention, or however you plan for the new year, maybe it's just even thinking, okay, well, we're going to plan our travels. I want you to think about these three different components. And I actually did a 3-day challenge in my group, the No Kegels University sorority, where if you're not a member, you're welcome to join and go back and take a look at those videos. And it's all free. But I think that these three components are so vital for us in our planning process, in our dreaming process. And those three are barriers, systems, and direction. So barriers, first and foremost. I think when we're dreaming, I think it's always important to decide or at least brainstorm some of the barriers that might come our way. And the reason I like to bring that up is because several months prior to this, I changed up the way that I work out. And I was so hot to trot and so ready to jump in and so excited. But in my opinion, I feel like I missed out on setting up some plans for the barriers that might come my way. For example, my little one still does not sleep through the night and oftentimes wakes me up. So if I'm trying to get this workout done first thing in the morning, which was my plan, then sometimes me not sleeping through the night or being woken up multiple times was going to be a barrier for me getting up to do this workout at 5 a.m. And I didn't come up with a plan for that. And oftentimes that barrier kept me from doing what I wanted. Another barrier that has come up for me, and I'm sharing some of these with you, so hopefully they might help you in your barrier identification process. But the second barrier was that sometimes I don't feel motivated or I don't feel like it. And so when I don't feel like it or I don't feel motivated, I'll tell myself, well, we can wait for the motivation to come, but the dream's never going to come until you do the work. And I realize that's kind of long, but I chose that for a reason. But really, a mentor of mine often says that if you're going to choose motivation to help you do the thing, you're really never going to get there. And so momentum typically can be the thing, which oftentimes that's giving myself a pep talk that helps me build momentum in order for me to go do the thing. So identifying your barriers in your planning process can be wildly helpful so that you can be wildly successful in whatever it is you are dreaming and working towards. The second thing is systems. And that has never become more clear to me than in the last couple of weeks. So while I love planning, I also am a systems and routine girl. And while our schedule is not very strict, I also have a lot of systems. For example, laundry is not really a stressful thing for me because there's a day on Thursdays we do my kids, the nanny helps with that. And then Friday I start my husband's and my laundry, and then I finish it up hopefully on Saturday. It's just a system and routine we have. I meal plan the same day of every week, and I grocery shop the following day after I do that meal plan. So we're never having to run out to go get extra things, or most of the time we're able to work with what I've bought for the week. And it just really helps save on time. It helps us meet our goals, whether that's budgeting or eating clean or saving money or, insert whatever it is. And while your systems don't necessarily need to be like mine, what I have found is at the time of this recording, about a week ago, I sustained a concussion. And the unfortunate thing with concussions is you don't always think clearly. And my problem solving isn't as great as it has been. And that's just part of the healing process. Time heals all things, right? And of course, me resting and that type of a thing. However, I did not realize how important and how much I depend on my systems and routines because I'm behind on them. I am behind on laundry. I'm behind on meal planning. I'm behind on grocery shopping. You name it, I am behind on it right now. And it's so interesting to me that in this moment of, my brain's not working as well as it should, which I realize this is a very, outlier extreme scenario. I hope that it kind of gives you an idea of how this has served me. So as I'm trying to get my life back together, I probably feel like I say that to myself every week. Okay, this is going to be the week I'm going to get my life together. It's so interesting how just being off on some of those routines really carries over into so many areas of my life. And right now, I feel extra frantic. I feel extra frustrated. I feel extra irritable, partially because of the healing that needs to happen from a concussion, but also because I have not been abiding by my systems and routines. But as I'm starting to pick up the pieces and get my life back together or back on track, it's so interesting that because I have those systems and routines, it's very easy just to plug it all back in. And for that, I'm very thankful. And it just has been such a testament to me in this last week or so, how important and how necessary that, especially as a mother and a wife, trying to keep a home, how vital and helpful that it has been. So whatever system you need to come up with, my suggestion is to, take a look at some of the areas in your life that are so frustrating. Laundry, that was a frustrating area for me. And so I decided to come up with a system for it. Same thing with meal planning and grocery shopping. Going to the grocery store to buy ingredients for tonight's dinner is really, time consuming. And oftentimes it can become expensive to do it, to go to the grocery store every other night. And so I was getting frustrated and I felt like it was sucking my life away. And so I started to create a plan that worked for us for meal planning and grocery shopping and so on and so forth. And same thing with cleaning the house, and same thing with the garbage, and same thing with, I have a decluttering system and routine that I do throughout the year. And anyways, so I am hopeful, while a lot of this has to do with very specific things, not necessarily goals, my hope is that you can see that taking this idea of systems, it takes a lot of the guesswork, the stress, a lot of your bandwidth, like the way your brain functions, and a lot of just, decisions. The decision has already been made. This is the day that I do the laundry. You're not always having to scramble. And I feel like that's extra important here because it allows you to be able to take what you're trying to work towards and focus your energy and your decisions and your efforts there. And the third is direction. And while I've already hinted at this already, that you don't have to reinvent yourself this year. You just need to build a little bit upon who you were the year before. And maybe you need to change your direction. I feel like for the first time in a really long time, that the direction that we're headed is exactly where I want to be. And I can say in years past that there's been times I've looked at, we really got to change this, or I don't really like where we're headed. This is probably the first time in a long time that I don't really feel like I have to change my direction. If anything, I'm trying to figure out how do I speed it up a little bit. And as you are getting ready to plan for this new year, I also would suggest for you to take these three ideas, the barriers and the systems and the direction, and apply it to your health. Because I would hope you know that I would probably not do an episode where it didn't somehow tie back to women's health or the pelvic floor or core. But this is an area where I just feel like as moms, we often neglect our health, and I'm guilty of that as well. But I also think that the phrase, as much as I hate it sometimes, that in the airlines, they'll tell you to put your oxygen mask on first before you put the oxygen mask on your children. And I really would suggest you to take these three components, barrier, systems, and direction, and apply it to your health. If it has to do with your pelvic floor or your core or something else, and I can help with it, or maybe there's a program inside No Kegels University that can help, please reach out to me or schedule a Your Pelvic Floor's Next Step call where you and I can chat together one-on-one and decide what your next best step is. I also want to thank you for being a part of my community this year. There's been so much growth, and I have you to thank for that. And I just want you to commend yourself as well for listening to things that are going to improve your pelvic floor strength or your postpartum recovery, or just improve your health as a female or as a mom. And with that, I want you to remember that you're an heiress and a queen and everything in between. I'll see you in the next year.